A video on making a mixed berry cordial from frozen berries. So we'll see how it turns out. Strawberries are a little bit problematic getting the juice out of them. So, I haven't got all the stuff I need. I'll use that. So, it's a bit of a faff. They're frozen. I've defrosted them. We need to freeze them again. First, we need to puree them and put them through a sieve. So we get all the bits out of them. And also breaks it down. Also breaks down all the fruit, so the juice can escape from all the juice. I've tried it where you just puree it and then freeze it and then kind of try and drip out as much juice as possible. It doesn't work, so we need to puree and pass through a sieve. Now there's some juice in that, so we'll just see if we can capture that juice as it wants to come out. So that's fine. Messy hands already. Normal stick blender. And we just want to pulse it down just so it goes through the sieve just that little bit easier. We could push it through the sieve as is, straight into there, and then push it through. It just takes a longer time, so you're best off just puree it and turn the blender on, obviously. That'll do. Get the juice off there. Some juice in the bag that we want. So, as much out of that as possible. You see, there is juice that's naturally coming out of the frozen berries, but we want more than that. A lot more than that. Right. So that into there. This is also how I make a fruit coulis as well, but we're going to strain it through a sieve and then add sugar, and then you've got a delicious fruit coulis. But we're not going to add in sugar, not just yet. It's a bit of a faff, is this, if I'm honest, but I'm always quite curious about things. So, and if you want to make your own fruit cordials, so you can get the flavours that you want and get the amount of sugar in a fruit cordial that you want, this is the way to do it. So, just scraping this metal spoon, not a wooden spoon, because all the wooden spoon will slowly start to sand away on the metal. So we're just going to use a metal spoon, moving it across the sieve like that, and slowly, all the fruit pulp will be pushed through the sieve, and all the seeds, and if there's any stalks, will be left in the sieve. I often think if I'd been given a chemistry set when I was a child, I wouldn't have, I'd have gone into chemistry rather than into catering. But obviously you can't eat your experiments if you're using chemicals. Well, you could. Right, that's just about as much as we're going to get out of it. So we'll just scrape off the bottom of the sieve like that, and then we'll have a look at what we've got. Right, so we're left with a fruit pulp, which we are now going to freeze again, put it into a container, freeze it overnight so it goes rock solid, and then we'll defrost it, which seems like a bit of a faff, like most of the things that I do. But what's that going to do is that's going to allow as much juice to come out of actual liquid because there's pulp in there as well. So it's just we'll be able to then strain out just the liquid through a cloth. Yes, so that makes, yes. freezing things, defrosting things and then freezing again is not normally a good idea to do with food. However, this is fruit and it's fine with fruit, and we're also going to cook, we're also going to heat the juice as well, so we're going to kill any kind of bacteria that might have grown in the process of defrosting and all that kind of stuff. So it is safe, it's a safe thing to do, but not with things like fish or meat. You really run the risk of giving yourself food poisoning doing that. But anyway, so freeze this and we'll come back when we're ready to strain it. The fruit pulp is now completely frozen solid, so it's just a case of leaving it in a container to defrost, and then we'll strain it through a muslin cloth, and then we'll get some juice out of it, and then we can go into the next process. Right, so the fruit pulp has now defrosted, and it's a case of straining it through a muslin cloth. Yeah, the cloth is stained. I've used it for other things. It's just got stained over time. It's clean, it's just a bit stained, and not one to throw things out when they're still usable. So over a jug with a strainer, and then the cloth. So as you can see, it has split, so into the pulp and to the juice. So we should get a good amount of juice out of this, like that. Oh, it's already going through, that's a good thing. I've been faffing with this for a while. It was starting to annoy me, but I think I've got it right this time. So, don't want to waste that, so that can go through like that. And then it's just a case of putting it in the fridge for a while, and I'll probably tie it to the shelf so it forms a little ball. So it forms a little purse. We'll group those together, and then we'll tie that up in the fridge, and then lots of juice will come out of that. Loads of juice is coming out. So yes, that seems like it's going to work. And then we'll come back when all the juice has strained out of the pulp, and then we'll have a little taste of the pulp, what's left in there, and we'll decide if we can get any more flavour out of that as well, because we don't want to waste it. And we're gonna boil up the cordial anyway, so we can afford to heat things up, reduce things down, make things a little bit more concentrated. It's not like we want to preserve that fresh fruit kind of flavour. If it's a little bit stewed, it doesn't matter because we're making a cordial. Right, so the fruit pulp has been straining, and as you can see from the fruit pulp, that loads of the liquids come out of it, and we're left with all that liquid in the bottom of the jar. Now, I think that some flavour still left in that pulp, so we're going to mix it with some water, and we're going to strain that liquid, and then we'll be able to see if we can get any more flavour out of it, because I don't want to waste it. So, well, that looks nice and clear actually. I don't think we'll need to strain that. I think we've done really well. But what we'll do is I'll put that in the fridge, cover it overnight. It's evening time now, so this isn't going to be ready tonight. It's going to be like a tomorrow morning thing. So I'll leave that in the fridge overnight, and we'll see if any sediment collects in the bottom. So we need to mix this pulp with some water, just to extract any kind of more flavour out of it, and then we can see. As always, I'm experimenting as I go. I'm certainly not one for trying something out a million times and then getting the video perfect. I'd rather just crack on with it and kind of show you the workings out as I go. Not really a fan of here's what I made earlier, or making out that I'm perfect, when most of the stuff I do is just winging it, if I'm honest. Take a guess, play around, see how you go, and show your workings out, which is what we used to do in when I did my GCSEs. In your maths, they always kind of said show your workings out, and even if you're wrong, you might get a point for it. So hopefully I might get a point. So we can use that again. So that back in there, that off there, like that. My fingers, they are clean, and it's also my house, and I'm going to drink it, therefore I'm not really bothered about using my fingers or anything like that. So a bit of water to start off with. I'm not going to, because I've removed that juice, it's just a way of having a look at what if there's any kind of flavour left in this, what we can extract, and then we'll have a play around with that tomorrow. do, we'll see how we go. Right, so as the cloth has already strained some of the juice through it, a lot of the sediment has impregnated the cloth, therefore it's going to make it a better filter. So it should come out, any kind of water that comes through should have flavour and should be kind of quite clear as well. So we'll see how we go. And in the spatula. So, same as before, in the fridge, I'll hang it up, make it into a pouch, and then it'll drip through a lot easier, and then we'll have a look at it tomorrow and see what we can do with it. Right, so just as before, I'll just explain quickly. So into a pouch like that, we'll put a clip on it, we'll attach it to the shelf, and then some liquid should start coming through it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We'll just have to see. This is the mixed fruit juicers that we're going to turn into a cordial. This is from the first time they passed it through the sieve, and this is from the second time when we added some water back to the fruit pulp and then put it through the cloth again. As you can see, it's got some colour to it and there's some flavour to it, so it was worth doing. It doesn't look like, there's only 500 grams of fruit, so it doesn't really look like it's worth doing for 500 grams of fruit, but if you were doing 5, 6, 7 kilos of fruit, it certainly would be worth doing this because you're going to certainly up your yield. It's quite thick, is the first passing through. It's got a bit of a syrup look feel to it, but it's quite sharp, so it needs sweetening. And I also want to intensify the flavour of this syrup because we're going to add it like that. You could drink straight now. That's kind of a little bit too intense. So what I want to do is I want to reduce them to intensify the flavour of them both slightly, and then we're going to sweeten them, and then we'll be able to add them to add fizzy water to them, or tonic or things like that after we've made the cordial. You don't want something you don't want a juice that you can drink as it is. You can't turn that into a cordial because you need like a quite intensive. You need to intensify the flavour first. So we're going to reduce that by adding some heat to it. And I have done in the past. I've put things through a filter paper, but it's quite clear. Is that there's a little bit of sediment in the bottom, which we just need to be careful of. So I'm not going to pour all that juice in. It's kind of quite clear as that. I think we're alright actually. Oh, it's all going to go in. That's fine. Normally I filter things through coffee papers just to get things crystal clear. But I don't think we need to do that with this one. So we're going to heat this one and we're going to reduce it to intensify the flavour. We'll reduce that one first and then we'll add that to it. And we'll reduce it down to a level where we think it's about right. And then we'll see how much liquid we've got. And then for every 250 millilitres we'll add 100 grams of just normal sugar. And that should be about the right kind of sweetness. I talked about this before in my other video. It's not, sugar is a preservative, so by only adding 100 grams worth of sugar for 250 millilitres, it's not going to have a particularly long shelf life. It's also kind of not going to be sweet. It's going to be nice, it's going to be nice and refreshing, but it's not going to be heavy and claggy like some cordials are. If you want to prolong its shelf life, what you need to do is you need to add more sugar, which will turn it into a thicker syrup, or you add in preservatives. But because this is fundamentally just going to be sugar and reduced fruit juice, it's going to be a lot purer in its form. We're going to have to cook it because if you don't cook fruit juices or fruits, they're going to start to ferment, which is not what we want. Well, actually, it is actually. If you want to ferment things, that's exactly what you want to do. But we don't want to do that. We just want to heat it to make sure that it's sterile, and then when we add the sugar, we're going to boil it, and then it's completely sterile, and then you have to keep it in the fridge, and it'll keep in the fridge for a month, maybe 2, but you certainly couldn't keep it in the cupboard because it won't start to ferment and potentially would start growing bacteria on top of it as well. So we need to cook it. Whereas other things, I think it's not a particularly good idea to cook them because you want to keep the freshness of the fruit. Certainly when I've made videos on making liqueurs, and I wanted a fresh kind of tasting pomegranate. So I used a 100% alcohol, which is a preservative. Nothing was going to grow in that bacteria-wise, and then it was allowed me to use just a heat-treated pomegranate, fresh pomegranate juice. So it was kind of a different kind of flavour and things. But that's another video. They're on my page somewhere if you're interested in that. So yeah, we can actually turn this into a liqueur as well. Get it down to a kind of depending on what we want to do with it. So if you were adding the 100% alcohol, 100% proof alcohol, you wouldn't need to heat this because the alcohol would kill no bacteria, or it wouldn't ferment with that amount of alcohol in it, and would be, you get a kind of right kind of ratio. But if I was to use vodka instead, which is vodka is about 40%, I would certainly have to heat and reduce the fruit juice. But I talked about that in the videos. I'm going to do another. I've got some of the alcohol left, and I've got some blackberry juice in the freezer. So I'm going to make a blackberry liqueur before at some point. It seems silly to have the alcohol in the fridge and the juice in the freezer and not make an alcohol out of them for a bit of fun. Yeah, so there was 500 grams of fruit. We'll just move this out of the way, and as you can see, if that's all that was left from the fruit, just that pulp, so all that 500 grams worth of fruit, that was all the juice that kind of came out of it. So if you ever kind of want to know how much water is in fruit, a lot. We'll give that a taste soon enough. Do we need that? We can go on that. I can get washed. Right. It's not particularly fruity in flavour, but it's quite sharp and it's got some colour to it, so it's going to add flavour to it. So it seems silly not to waste it. We don't need that anymore, do we? That was just to show you how much fruit pulp is in something, as opposed to how much liquid is in it. As this reduces, it's going to get thicker as well. So we just need to keep an eye on it. When the water completely evaporates off, it will start to, the sugars that are in that will start to burn, which is not what we want. So we could take this down further and make like quite a concentrated syrup, like a red fruit, or like a mixed fruit syrup, which is not what we want, because there's a danger of it burning. So we'll just move it around, boil off, as you can see it's going thicker, boil off liquid, which is going to intensify flavour, and then we'll add the other juice, get it to a taste that we want, and then we'll measure it, and then we'll add some sugar to it in the right kind of ratio, and then that'll be the cordial made. And then pour it into a nice clean bottle, and then keep it in the fridge, and I'll have a look at it tomorrow, or when I buy myself some fizzy water or something to pour it into. It's pointless adding this, making this and then adding water to it, because you might as well just leave it as the juice. You want to be adding it. You can add it to prosecco or cava or something like that. I forgot what it's called. But there's a semi-cocktail where you add, is it blackcurrant liqueur too? So as you can see, that's gone kind of quite syrupy. I don't want to reduce that anymore, so we'll add that, and then we'll give it a boil, we'll give it a taste, see what it tastes like, and then see how much sugar we want to add. And it might need a little bit of acid to it as well, so we might need to add a little bit of lemon to it. Different cordials need different acids added to them, so like a pomegranate, orange works particularly well. Something like like others would, lime would be better. I forget which. Oh yeah, like sort of like a black currant. A lime would be better in that. It's going to be a long video. I'll put some date stamps in it. Timestamp, not date stamps, timestamps. And you can don't have to listen to all this waffling. I don't think we want to reduce it much more than that. That's about it. I'll put that there. Right, so where are we? Swish it around a bit. And we'll weigh it. Ooh, 170 grams. I need to do a calculation. Bear with me. Right, so 167 grams worth of juice wants 63 grams of sugar. So pre-weighed it out. Have to trust me. And then we just want to heat it just enough to melt the sugar. And then we'll give it a taste, and then we'll see if it needs any more sugar in it. I don't think it will. And it's kind of quite sharp as well, so I don't think it'll need any lemon in it. Turn the heat off now. Residual heat will melt any sugar that we've got in there. So, as you can see, as you add the sugar, it makes it lovely and glossy. Doesn't look particularly thick at the moment, but as it cools, the sugar will thicken it up, and it'll be nice and syrupy. Ooh, that's really nice. There we go. So, I'll get a nice bottle. We'll pour that in a bottle, let it cool overnight, and then we'll get something fizzy. And we'll try that tomorrow and we'll see what it's like, but I think it's going to be really good. Right, let's have a taste of the cordial. It's been in the fridge. You need to keep it in the fridge because there's less sugar in it. If you want it sweeter, just put more sugar in. But I don't want it too sweet, you've got to keep it in the fridge, otherwise it's going to want to ferment. Just a natural thing that happens. So, nice and syrupy. Nice and shiny and clear. That's about that much. I've got some sparkling water. It's not. It is sparkling. Oh, there you go. Does that look impressive? Give it a taste off camera. Very nice. Very nice. If you want to make your own cordial from frozen berries, that's how you make it. I'll do the recipe and I'll put it in the description, and with some probably overly long the video, so I'll put in some timestamps as well. But there you go. If you want to make your own cordial and beat the sugar tax, that's the one for you.